Okay, this is Algebra 1, Lesson 22, and we're working on factoring. And I just want to say that this is probably the most important thing you're going to learn in Algebra 1. And so I want you to really focus on this. First of all, we're going to start factoring, and what it means to factor is I'm looking for two things that multiply together to give me this. Okay, what you worked on last time in Lesson 21, this value was always a 1. Today, everything we do, it's not going to be. It's going to be something other than 1. So here's what you're going to do. We call this the AC method because this is like A, B, C. So this is called the AC method. And what we're always going to do is we're going to take the first times the last, okay? So you're going to be like, we're just looking at the numbers. We're not looking at these variables at all. So we've got 2 times 1, which is 2. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to write this on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking for factors of 2. Remember, factors are things that multiply together to give you 2, but at the same time they have to add up to 3. Well, that's not too hard because the only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. So these are my magic numbers right here. So what we're going to do is instead of this 3x, okay, so I'm going to write 2x squared. Notice that's exactly what I have here. But instead of this 3x, I'm going to write these in any order I want, okay? And I'm going to write plus, and since they're in this order, I'm just going to do it, 1x plus 2x. Notice this was a 1x plus 2x. Notice that gives me this 3x plus 1. Okay, notice this is the exact same thing as this. And I know this one is an easier one, okay, but I want you to practice this method. That these two in the middle had better add up to this one. Okay, notice we have 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to cut it in half. I like to cut it in half right in front of this sign. Okay? So what you do is you look at this half and you say, hey, what does this half have in common? And do you see both of these have an x in common? Somebody's like, oh, they both have an x in common. So I'm going to put an x out front. And if you take an x out of both of these, notice what you're left with. This one is going to have a 2x because I want you to think about this. X times 2x would give you 2x squared. That's a plus 1. Okay? X times 1 is x. Okay? Now, this is the distribution property, kind of in reverse. You're factoring. Let me see if I can clear this up just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so think about this. X times 2x, 2x squared. X times 1 is x. Okay, now we're going to look at this half. Notice this half, they don't have anything in common. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring down the sign always. It's a plus sign, so bring it straight down. These don't have anything in common, so I'm going to be like, well, they have at least a 1 in common. And whatever's in parentheses over here, I'm going to copy it. Okay? Again, you got a 2x plus 1 on this side, you're going to put a 2x plus 1 on this side. And notice when I multiply this in, 1 times 2x gives me 2x, 1 times 1 is 1. Okay. Now this first one's kind of confusing, but that's okay. It's your first time to do this. Notice both sides have a 2x plus 1 in common, so you're going to put that in one set of parentheses. In your other set, you're going to put what's left. This side had an x, this side had a plus 1. So there we're going to do it. Now, there it is factored. That is your answer right there. If you would FOIL this out, you would get this original problem. Notice 2x times x would give me 2x squared. 2x times 1 is going to give you your 2x. There it is right there. 1 times x is x. There it is right there. 1 times 1 is 1. So if you would add those, you get this. Okay, let's try another one. I know, first one's confusing, but just stay with me. Okay, this is the A, B, C. And what we're doing is called, let me write it down so you don't forget it, but it's called the AC method. Okay, because what we're going to do is take the A times the C. A times C is 12. You see that? 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm going to write this down right here. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for factors of 12 that add up to 13. Okay, now I want you to just think about it. Here's all my factors of 12. Those are all factors of 12. Everybody agrees to that. 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, only one of these is going to work. I'm looking for the one that adds up to 13. Notice it would have to be this one because 1 plus 12 is 13. So what you're going to do, leave this guy alone, but instead of this middle term, instead of a 13x, it doesn't matter what order you do it. Put in any order you want, but this is going to be a 1x plus 12x. So I'm going to write 1x plus 12x, because notice that's 13x plus 4. Okay, I've got 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut him in half, and you're going to look at this half. What does this half have in common? Do you see they both have an x? So I'm going to factor out my x, and notice what I have left. You're pulling that out. X times 3x would give me this term, 3x squared, and x times 1 would give me the x. You've got to make sure if you multiply this in, you would get exactly what you started with. Okay, whatever that sign is, carry it straight down. Now what does this half have in common? 4. Do you see 4 would go into 12 and 4 goes into 4? Okay, whatever's in this parentheses, copy it. So I did that. Now does it work? 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 1 is 4, and you're like, woohoo! So give yourself 2 sets of parentheses. Make sure you write them right beside each other, because that's what it means. Remember, that means to multiply. Notice both sides have a 3x plus 1, so I'm going to do that on one side. And in your other set, you're going to put what's left, an x plus 4. Okay, and there you go. That is your answer. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Let's try, I'm looking. Let's try number 5. And by the way, I didn't even say this at the very beginning, but this is from 22a. Okay, so I'm going to come back up here. This is from 22a. Okay, number 5. 2x squared plus 15x plus 18. Okay. First of all, I haven't mentioned this because we haven't had to worry about it, and we don't here, but make sure when you do this that you're checking all 3 terms and make sure they don't have anything in common. And they don't. This is not a 1. Too bad. Remember, that's what we worked on last week, and it was so nice and easy when this is a 1. But it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the first times the last. 2 times 18. And let's see, 2 times 18 is what? 36? Okay. So I'm going to come over here to the side, and I'm looking for factors of 36 that add up to 15. Now, some of you are really good at your multiplication facts, and you're going to be able to find that really fast. Some of you aren't. If you're not, just start like this, okay, and find them. 1 times 36 is 36. Okay, that adds up to 37. It's not that one. 2 times 18 is 36. Bummer. That's not going to work because that only adds up to 20. Okay, 3 times, what is it, 12? 3 times 12 is 36. Hey, 3 plus 12 is 15. There's my magic numbers right there. Okay, so I'm ready to play my game. Whatever this is, copy it down. Okay, but instead of this middle term, I'm going to substitute these in. You cannot go wrong. You can do it in any order you want, and you will not miss it. You can either write 3x plus 12x, or you can write 12x plus 3. Who cares? Okay, let's do it 3x plus 12x. Doesn't matter. I love this method because you can't miss it. Okay, plus 18. Okay, once again, I'm going to show you. You should end up with 4 terms here. The only thing you're changing, instead of this 15x, you're going to put in these magic numbers you found. Notice 3x plus 12x is 15x, okay? Then you're going to cut it in half. You're going to look at this half. Surely they have something in common. If they don't, you know, you can at least write a 1 out front. But they both have at least an x. So pull out the x. And here's the hard part. You have to think x times what gives you 2x squared. Well, you're going to be like, oh, 2x. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Okay, bring that sign straight down. What do these have in common? Find the greatest thing they have in common. And what, 6? 6 will go into both those, so I'm going to say 6. And then whatever's in these parentheses, carry it over. Okay, it should work. If it doesn't work, you've either done something wrong or it just won't factor. 6 times 2x is 12x. 6 times 3 is 18. And I'm like, woo, woo, that's what I wanted. So give yourself your 2 sets of parentheses. In this first one, hey, what do they both have in common? 2x plus 3? Okay, whatever's left, notice there's an x on this side, there's a plus 6 on this side. That's going to go in your other set. So there you go. And by the way, I want you to realize that means the same thing as this. These 2 answers, I don't know what you're looking at, but these are exactly the same. Remember, you can multiply in any order you want, and you're going to get the same answer. That's cool. Okay, let's try number 8. Okay, I like number 8. It's got just a little bit of a different trick to it. Okay, definitely not a 1. Bummer. But notice, look at all three terms. Do they all three have something in common? They're all even, that's for sure. So you can factor out a 2. That's the greatest thing. So you're going to pull a 2 out of all these. So I'm thinking 2 times 2x squared. Woo! It's going to give me 4x squared. Let's see, 2 times 5, that's going to give me my 10. I still need my x. Make sure when you multiply it, you get the same thing. And 2 times 2 is 4. So I've got it. Okay. Now, we're going to try to factor this middle part just for a second. So we're going to play the same game. You're going to take the first times the last. You want to say it the A times the C. 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm coming over here to the side. I'm looking for factors of 4. Well, that's 1 times 4. 2 times 2. How do I know which one to pick? Well, remember they have to add up to give you 5. Okay. Well, that would have to be this because 1 plus 4 is 5. So I sure don't want to forget my 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this so I don't forget him eventually. But right here, let's just ignore him for a minute. There's my 2x squared. But instead of this middle term, this 5x, I'm going to put in a 1x plus a 4x. So there's a 1x plus a 4x, because that gives me my 5x plus 2. I'm going to cut it in half. Notice I'm always cutting it in half right in front of that sign. What do these two have in common? An x. So you're going to factor that out. Make sure x times 1. Do you see how that gives me that x? X times 2x gives me 2x squared. Bring this sign straight down. That'll save you problems later. What do these two have in common? 2. Don't even think about this. Do you see how this is 2x plus 1? Just copy it over. 2x plus 1. And then double check. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times 1 is 2. And I'm like, woo! I'm good. Okay. So here's my 2 sets of parentheses. Notice what they both have in common is 2x plus 1. And what's left is an x plus 2. Here's what you got to be careful of. Do you remember in the very beginning how you factored out that 2? You can't forget you got to bring him down. He's still sitting out front. If you don't bring him on down, you're not going to get back what you originally had. If you forget him, what you're going to get back is this. Okay? So you remember to bring that 2 down. Now, I think I'm going to flip the page and I'm looking real quick. I think that's going to do it. If anybody needs to see more, let me know.